When was the last time you truly listened to the sound of a loved one's voice? Have you ever noticed how it evokes certain memories and supercharged emotions for you? What if the most meaningful memory of your wedding day wasn't captured in a photo because we chose to think a little differently about and expand on the way we document weddings? My guest, Kate Mishkin, is the founder of Spirit and Sound, a company that creates one-of-a-kind audio documentaries of couples' wedding days. Kate shares how she draws out deeply personal stories from newlyweds and their families and their friends, why the human voice has an intimate quality that photos can't capture, and the coolest way couples are preserving these recordings for future generations to enjoy. Make sure you stay listening until the end because Kate also reveals her favourite unexpected moments from weddings and the simple steps you can take, even if you don't hire a producer, to start preserving your own love story in sound. Let's get stuck into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. Hi, Kate. So lovely of you to reach out. Really appreciate it. And I'm so excited to learn a bit about what you do over there in the States. But before we jump into that part, could you please let the listener know who you are and a bit about your background as well? Because I think that's everything.
I think so too. It's great to be here. My name is Kate Mishkin, born and raised in Los Angeles. That's where I live now. And I'm the CEO and founder of Spirit and Sound. We're a wedding podcasting company, really born out of my background as a journalist and as a podcast producer.
Yeah. So with the journalist background, Kate, what did you do prior?
I started my career as a breaking news reporter for a newspaper in Virginia, which was not for the faint of heart and something I never want to do again.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Oh, I don't deal with adrenaline in that way. I would come in. It was like a 2 to 10 p.m. shift, and you'd listen to the scanner, and you'd have to just, at the drop of a hat, go out and respond to the news.
Wow.
And it was just very, very fast paced. And so I moved from that to more of an investigative reporter role in Charleston, West Virginia. And that was a very meaningful experience. But I always loved audio. And so I moved back home to Los Angeles and started a job as a podcast producer.
And now with Spirit and Sound, you're playing in a totally different, I don't know, in a different sandpit, really, but using those skills. Can you explain what Spirit and Sound is all about?
Sure. Well, the story of Spirit and Sound was basically, I go to a lot of weddings and I'm with my partner is not from the same place as I am. We've been in college, so we have different backgrounds, meaning I go to a lot of weddings where I'm the plus one. And I realized that I really didn't know a lot about the couples getting married. And so what I aim to do is interview the couples about who they are and what their background is and why they fell in love and what that first spark is. I really believe this is a value and virtue, I guess, from journalism, but I really believe that everyone has a story. And so my goal is to marry that background in journalism with my love of weddings and people's stories and help kind of tease out couples' origin stories.
Yeah, so you're running around, Kate, with your microphones and everything. So you're chasing down the couple, obviously, trying to pick a moment, I would imagine, like during the wedding, in between bits of the reception to get their input. But you're also interviewing other people at the wedding.
Exactly. Yes, it kind of ends up as this kind of like a Greek chorus, which is not an imagery that has come to mind until right now. But yeah, basically the idea is that I want the couple stories in their words, but I also want the couple stories in everyone else's words. I feel that, the people who watch us grow up and watch us fall in love know us really well. And I think we get little snippets of that in toasts and in vows and in guest books, but sitting down with a mom or a sorority sister or a college roommate, those people have they've had a front row seat to you and falling in love. And so you can't, in some ways, you can't tell this story about your love story without talking to the people who watched it happen.
Yeah, a completely different perspective and angle. And for the couple, I'm guessing it must be brand new to them to hear their story in their lives, their relationship reflected through someone else's lens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's kind of a vantage point that we don't always get in life, where we get to hear other people talk about us.
A favorite topic, right?
Exactly.
Who doesn't like someone going, oh, they're lovely?
Right. And especially, it's not, I think people open up to a podcast producer in a way that they don't necessarily open up to the couple. If I went up to a person and said, what do you love most about me? Might be different than if you went up to someone and said, what do you love about Kate? So there's something that, you're one level away. And so then couples do get to kind of hear almost be flies on the wall at their own weddings.
And for the future as well, like I can just imagine the value of, and that's what I wanted to ask. It's been how it's been until now that the visual aspect of weddings has been the prized thing that everyone's going for. You get the very experienced photographer. They're with you all bloody day. They're taking photos of you from every freaking angle in various stages of dress and, like inebriation as well.
Exactly.
So you've got all the visual aspects covered, but I mean, you're a podcaster. You get it. The value of the voice and audio is huge. So, like, how do you think it's impacting the couple to have the audio memento, really, like memorabilia of their wedding day and of their relationship? Like, how are you finding the response?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I mean, what I do doesn't detract from the visual. I think that's a whole other valuable component. But I think what I do is, it's a couple things. There's an intimacy of the human voice that I think we really gravitate toward. And I think if you're listening to a podcast, maybe it's a celebrity or something like that, or, something else, our mind comes up with our own visual movie. We use our imaginations. What does this person sound like? What do they look like when they're talking to each other? In the case of a couple, hearing their own voices or hearing their friends, listening to that, I think kind of draws you. You have this really rich experience of making your own movie with those memories. And what does the sound of that bring out? What specific memory? What's the sound of that cake cutting? What memories does that bring for you? And it's almost richer and more dynamic than any sort of two-dimensional photograph or video, because it's in your mind and it's memories, and the memories take on a new life. There's something very, very beautiful and almost kind of otherworldly about the experience to me of listening to someone's voice.
Yeah, well, it's infinite, right? Because you can dream up anything in your head.
Exactly. Yeah.
To marry up with that sound.
Yeah.
And I would imagine like it's not only, pinpointed to the wedding day or pinpointed to the couple who's getting married, their relationship, but, you were saying like a sorority sister. If you hear her voice and she's chatting about, how you used to dream of, I don't know, traveling or doing this or doing that, and you used to joke about when you get married, your mind would be taken back as well through all those memories with her, everything that you did.
Right, exactly. It's the same way that, I think people associate sounds or smells with certain times in their life, a breakup or a vacation or a parent or a grandparent. The same is true of audio and interviews. You really, your mind does go back there and to kind of replay an experience and then bring something new in. And I think the experience of hearing this multiple times, maybe on a 10-year anniversary, is way different than hearing it after a week.
But you do something really special, Kate, and this is the part where I'm really excited, not only because you've got the background in journalism and obviously the quality of what you're producing is very, very high, but the vinyl. Tell the listener about the vinyl pressed bit.
Right. Well, I wanted to make this kind of tactile. I wanted to have something that people can hold in their hands. I think there's the memory and there's the visual, there's all those components, but I think holding a vinyl record of your own stories is something completely I've never seen before. And that's what kind of led me to want to start with this. And the idea is that on one side of the vinyl is your story and your words. And then on the other side of the vinyl is your story and their words. So
Oh,
just as you would flip over a vinyl
the
after,
B-side. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's the B-side. And
that's
so you
so
can,
sweet.
it's something you can listen to over and over. And of course, we also do digital. It's if you don't have a vinyl, I think it's still, people still really enjoy having something that they can hold and put up on a wall or play elsewhere. It doesn't, I think, take away from what we're doing. But it's something that elevates the experience. I think that instead of hearing your favorite record, you can hear the record of you.
Yeah. Yeah, your very own album of
Right.
yourself. Like,
Right.
what a beautiful family heirloom as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, with maybe with the exception of like old-timey radio where you hear those crackles and you hear the tubes and all that sort of stuff, that audio now, with the clarity that we've got,
Mhm.
I don't think it would age a whole heap. You can't imagine, you know, whereas a photo, you can look back on the wedding dress or the decorations, the colors, all those sorts of things, and they might age. But imagine your great great grandchild sitting down and hearing your voices and what you were thinking and what you were doing. And it's just like, what a gift.
Sound is forever. It's not going away. And that's really it's what got me into podcasting to begin with, is that the human voice. What better than to have those family heirlooms that will literally be passed down generations.
And something so solid as a record.
Right,
And
right.
for those listeners who haven't been around when vinyl was huge, it's the best. It's
Yeah,
so, so good. There's
yeah.
something really intimate about the quality of vinyl, and putting a record player on and having that little needle. Like, yeah, it's beautiful. So maybe going back to like your journalism background and everything, the storytelling aspects that you would have had to have honed, as you said, out on the mean streets for a while. Like, how do you bring that into a wedding project? And, how do you tailor these audio messages from the couples?
Yeah. I think it comes from the same value that I've always had, which is that everyone has a story and that everyone's voice deserves to be shared. And I think that's the same if you're, at the scene of a big house fire, or the scene of a coal mine, or the scene of a wedding. I think, I think everyone has a story and a voice that's worthy of amplification. So that's something that I bring no matter what. I think something also that I bring though is a compassion for the person talking to me. And I think it's a real privilege. I don't take for granted that people open up and tell me about, their first date, their awkward date, their the many dates that they went on before they found this guy. It's really, there's something very, very special about it. And it's a total privilege to be able to hear those stories. But I think, the topics are very different. Being at someone's wedding is very different than reporting for a newspaper or for a podcast. But I think the way that I approach it is kind of one and the same.
Really?
I think so.
Wow, I'm really surprised. How do you get them to open up? Because I would imagine at the scene of a house fire, there's a lot of people who want to say a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't think you'd be trying to, you wouldn't have to try too hard to get someone to say stuff. But at a wedding, I can imagine, especially, maybe an auntie, a grandma or something, that idea of permanency,
Right. Permanency. Yeah.
you know, of something being forever, of saying those words and having them heard back. Like, how are you bringing these people out of their shells?
It's a great question. And you're giving me pause.
How do I get them out?
Exactly.
What are you doing? Are you luring them with alcohol, Kate?
No, in fact, I make a point that it's, I know that in some cases it's way easier to talk, or, there are guest books where, as the night goes on, the audio guest books get rowdier and rowdier. I would never leave my drunk family with a glass of wine and a guest book.
Yeah.
I want, mutual consent that for sure, like if this is not your thing, it's not your thing. If you don't want to talk,
Right.
you're not, under oath here. But I think what I can share is that, first of all, it's not live. I record, and I edit, and, we can take as many takes as you need. But I think that there's something about the microphone. It's a very, it's almost very disarming. That's something I learned very on, that you hold it and it seems like it's going to be on the way. And I think people really forget that it's there, and they start to open up, and they start to, especially with couples. I mean, it's one thing when it's a grandparent kind of, talking to me and sharing their story. And I do think people, it's disarming. They start to share and remember and go down that path. But especially with couples, when it's the two of them, sometimes they just completely forget that I'm there and they're just
Oh,
way down memory lane and they're talking and they're hearing things that they never, these couples that have, in some cases, been together for a decade, they're hearing the partner say something that they'd never heard said out loud.
oh,
And you can kind of see them interact like, oh, I've never heard you say it. You really thought that, or you thought that on our first date. I don't remember it that way. And it's almost like, I think I have a duty as, traditionally as a journalist. In this case, I'm a little bit as a wedding podcaster. I feel that I should be there to record, but in some ways I'm kind of like, forget I'm even here. You have your moment and you
yeah.
enjoy each other. And my job is to just sit back and record and make sure that this is captured.
I mean, where do you look at that point, Kate? When they're like revealing all this stuff, are you
I
just,
know.
I imagine you're looking really high up
I
or
know.
down,
I know.
kicking the ground down by your feet.
Right.
Do you wear camouflage?
Mostly I'm looking at the recorder to make sure it's still rolling. That's my that's my
Please
job.
keep recording.
Exactly. I'm making sure that the mic is pointed at the right person and we're getting the good sound. And if there needs to be a prompt, that I'm there and I'm ready and I'm still engaged. I'm ready to ask a follow-up. But if this has become a self-driving conversation,
Yeah.
the best thing I could do is stay out of the way and record it.
You still haven't written your vows yet, have you? Let me help. In around 20 minutes or so, you can easily write personalised wedding vows unlike anything you've heard before that will make your fiancé feel like the most loved, understood and appreciated person on the planet. The How to Write Wedding Vows That Don't Suck instant download 17-page PDF ebook walks you through a step-by-step format for your vows, how to find the right words and phrases to describe your feelings and your fiancé, how to write that crucial first draft, and create your final wedding vows masterpiece. So if you don't know how or even where to start, if you've been Googling your little heart out, or if you've been calling them wedding vows, AEIOU, this ebook is for you. Included in there are also some bonus secrets for getting the most out of your wedding ceremony. So make sure you download your copy right now and get Write Your Wedding Vows crossed off your to-do list today. The link is in the show notes. You'd have to be really kind of sensitive to those moments. I mean, I bet you're developing these skills as you go. Like, you're going to be a great celebrant. If you ever need to shuffle across to the side, expand your offering, that sort of moving between people when they're just feeling all the feels. But I can imagine, grandparents, finally being able to get these messages across. I mean, you must be very good at what you do, Kate.
I appreciate that. It's a two-way street. I know it's not easy to talk to a producer. It's not easy to show up, especially on a busy day and get in front of a big microphone. But I do think I'm good at it. I think this is my superpower, is getting people to open up and listening. I think I'm a good listener and genuinely loving people's stories. And I think even in my case, this is similar, but just the need to record people's stories and family member stories. And in the last couple of years, through different projects, I've recorded my mom and my dad, who are kind of older, and I always go in so nervous and like, are you sure? Like, I know I'm in your way. I'm looking at time. They don't mind. They're happy to do it because they know that this is for posterity, and there's a value in recording these family stories. And so I think that sometimes, I guess what I'm saying is the best thing I can do is get out of my own way and know that these grandparents or aunts or uncles, I might feel a little awkward about approaching them, but I think we all have the same goal, and it's to get these stories forever.
Yeah. Have you got any great or surprising moments or stories that have, cropped up and taken you unawares? And share juicy bits.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think there's so many stories of, there was a great story of a couple who told me it was very When Harry Met Sally. They were friends. They thought they'd be great friends. And it was a guy and a girl, and the guy had another girlfriend, and the girl had convinced herself that this was a platonic relationship. And the guy broke up with his girlfriend. And the girlfriend said, okay, so are you going to go date her now? Because everyone kind of knew, they had a sense that these two were meant to be. And now they're married and they have twins and they're super happy. And there's so many stories like that where, other people can see it and feel it, but the couple themselves, they don't know it yet. But there's an energy, there's something in the air, and only in hindsight, only in talking to me that you could put the pieces together and see, the origin stories goes way back before we even thought.
Have you had any, it's not nice to talk about, but any older family members who have passed away of someone you've done a recording for, and the couple have come back and said, thank you so much, you don't know the value, because they get to hear their voice again, after they've passed? Have you had anything like that?
I wish I could tell you I did. I haven't had that yet. I have a voicemail from my grandmother that was left for my mom. And for some reason, it feels very, very relevant to me when I hear it. It's about not giving up. She left it for my mom after my mom had a little bit of I think it was just a very small professional low. And anytime that I've had some sort of professional low or something has not worked out for me, I listen to it. And it's my grandma saying, don't give up. It's going to work out, or it's going to be okay. And my grandma passed away in 2020, and never thought that a voice memo like that I'm saying voice memo. It's really a voicemail left on a landline, not even for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know. And no one thought that it would take on that kind of life. Luckily, no one I've interviewed has died since I've been doing this, but I know how important that is to have that recording. And especially in this case, what I'm doing is, it really is deliberate. It is for that couple. It's not for someone else that was listened to, like in my case. And there's just something so powerful about keeping people's voices like that. So I know when the time comes, it's going to be really important to have.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like, to be able to hear my grandma now, like that. Just, I'm all welled up.
Oh,
the value, I think, is just immense. And as you said, infinite, because sound's not going anywhere. But does that play on your mind? Are you sitting there and looking at the development of AI and how it's growing and things like that, and seeing, weddings become more tech forward, and yet you're stepping backwards?
I am. Yeah, I'm seeing it in all levels. I mean, especially, when I'm not doing this, I produce podcasts for Sony and the LA Times and other places that are, it's a completely different thing. But in some ways, of course, we're on the forefront of AI, and I think it's a great tool. But I've made the choice to kind of step away from that, and knowing that maybe this is not for every couple. Some couples do want something more tech forward. Of course, AI is helpful in transcribing or.
Yeah. So good in podcasting.
Exactly.
Thank you, AI, if you're listening.
Right.
And it is.
Yeah, exactly. There are things that are helpful, but what I've chosen to do is kind of take a step. I wouldn't say step back. I would say kind of a step in a different direction, and capture something that I think, it's simply like a robot can't do. And that's the human experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I guess I didn't mean step back, more, I don't know, it's embracing the quality of audio and the value of audio that we might have in the past. I mean, I'm not that old, but, back before there was TV, how they used to have like radio plays and things like that, and everyone would gather around the radio and they'd prioritize the value of, audio, of the sound that they heard and the soundscapes that were built. I feel like it's a little bit of a step back in time to a simpler age, and maybe, a time when audio was just more appreciated, maybe.
I think so. I think it's a recentering.
But you see the value for all time.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, like I said, it's the human, there's something about humans interacting with each other and also telling stories that, my God, that's like nothing is more human than sitting around a campfire telling a story or talking to each other. I know that, wedding days can get so busy, and so there's so many moving parts, and there's so many lists and check boxes, and, there's just so much going on. And that's like crucial to making the day happen. And hopefully this is something that slows it down just a little bit. I think that's something we all need.
Yeah, that's it. You slow it down and you preserve it to be able to come back to, which is just brilliant. So, I mean, you're in Los Angeles. Where do you go around to do the Spirit and Sound services?
I will go anywhere the work takes me.
Really?
Yeah, actually, yes. Because that's kind of, That's always been my ethos as a journalist. If there's a story, I go follow it.
Internationally, Kate?
Yeah. Yeah.
How fabulous.
Yeah. I'm actually working on, might be irrelevant, but I'm doing podcasts in London right now. So I'm used to the time change.
Yeah.
And yeah, have podcast will travel.
Yes.
I'm totally committed to following this story because I think there's something that like I don't take for granted that people want to hire me. This is totally an extra thing. It's not a contemplated thing. When I was a kid dreaming about my wedding, I wasn't like, wow, I really hope there's a producer there. Like it's like a completely new thing. It's not part of anyone's like imagination. And so if someone gives me the privilege and the benefit of wanting to hire me, I want to do everything in my power to meet with them where they are.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you got to come down.
I will.
Yeah, that'd be super. Okay. But for couples who are like loving the idea of preserving audio, of capturing their memories and everything, if they can't get you, what would you suggest is like the next best thing a couple could do to capture their stories, to, capture the sound of voices and things like that? What would you advise?
Yeah, I think that having making space for it. I think like talking to each other. Obviously, the gold standard is to record. I think preserving these things is the best case scenario, and there's so many tools to do that are very easy and doable. But I think really at the center of what we're talking about is like sitting down and like looking at your partner and saying, "This is what I love about you, and this is when I fell in love with you, and this is why I care about you, and this is what you do that makes me feel safe and alive and loved and cared for." And sometimes it works better when there was a producer there to facilitate, but like I don't have to be there. The idea is to center ourselves and make space to have these conversations that I think sometimes we forget to have.
Oh, such a good point, Kate. So excited. Yeah, I'd love to hear some of this stuff, but I mean, I understand it's a private exchange, yeah, but I reckon I could sit there and like listen to all of them just to,
Oh yeah.
I don't know, mine hope and love and all that sort of stuff. Are you surprised by how much you're loving being around weddings?
No, I'm not at all. I definitely wasn't one of these. I didn't love weddings growing up. I wasn't dreaming of spending my life in it.
You're not sitting there with a scrapbook.
No, that wasn't me. But I think it's the intimacy of the voice and the experience. And I've spent a lot of my career, like I kind of alluded to, around some really dark stuff. And especially in the podcasting world, I've done a lot of true crime and sad stories. And there was something about me that just, I don't. First of all, I didn't want to be around that all the time. I wanted to be around levity and lightness and joy. But also, I don't think your life should have had to have intersected with, a serial killer or something really dark to have your story told. I think we should be able to amplify voices without the drama of true crime. Everyone has a voice, and so I absolutely love telling stories outside of the traditional podcast realm, and it makes me happy. And I mean, especially for the couples when they're in front of me, like when they're done, I'm like, just go on a date, like go spend some time together. And then, but for me, like I just go into the room and kind of bask in like, I can't believe they just shared that with me. Like what an absolute privilege that they told me about their love and it's amazing. Yeah.
I find it fascinating with, because I guess you're a wedding vendor sort of now, I guess you're one of us. But I find, traditional wedding vendors, your hair and makeup artists and those guys, they just go, yeah, weddings, it's what we do. But then sometimes someone like you comes in from the outside.
Right.
And I love going, isn't this cool? Isn't all this on the inside cool? And they go, yeah, it's real nice. I just find that, that absolute like hope and joy and trust and all that sort of stuff, especially in this environment at the moment, is just, it's a lifestyle. It's so much more than just a job, because it makes my life better being a celebrant, being a podcaster.
Yeah.
And I can see, it has a similar effect for you, Kate.
Yeah. I mean, what's better than like being around love? People's favorite days and everyone's happy. I can tell that you feel it. It's like so much fun.
That's so brilliant. Okay, so for people who are like going, yeah, love the sound of it, literally, where do they find you, Kate?
So we're online at spiritandsnd.com. We also have the same handle on Instagram. So it's instagram.com/spiritandsnd. We're newcomers to TikTok. We're there. And I think those are the places to find me.
Yeah, and she'll go anywhere, listener. Anywhere.
Anywhere.
So, yeah, hit her up. Hit her up.
thank you.
Love hearing about what you're doing, Kate, and I think it's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Oh, I so appreciate you having me on. It's been so much fun.
Thanks, Kate. Bye. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.